So guys, we are standing in front of the Transcend line from Grand Design, and this is what a lot of people might consider more of the entry level into a Grand Design, right? If you're looking at a travel trailer?
We like to use the term introductory level. This is a new segment for us, and as we've created our brands over the years, Imagine was always that position where maybe a first-time buyer, somebody trying to get into a Grand Design, that was the starting point. And so now with this segment, we've really kind of opened that door to maybe some buyers that didn't want to or couldn't get into an Imagine early into their RVing career, if you will. So this opens the door, an opportunity for people to be introduced to Grand Design, still utilizing the same functionality and feature and benefit that we have in all of our other series. There's a lot of consistencies with this product that even trail all the way up to the big Solitudes or the big Momentums. However, it's much more affordable, but we want to also keep in mind it needs to be towable, it needs to be versatile in functionality of the floor plan.
And honestly, it needs to look good.
It does, yeah.
And this really looks good. This new design, and I talked about it again in another video, but this new design of moving away from that traditional corrugated side to, what do you call this? Do you have a name for it?
Yeah, so we call this the tough wall construction. There's a couple different things that we did. You already mentioned that traditional corrugated siding of aluminum on the wood-framed units does a couple different things. One, it's usually a thinner aluminum gauge, and two, it's protruding out further, which is more exposure to hail and wind and road debris and things like that. So we did a couple different things. One, we're using a higher grade, about 25% thicker than the majority of competing brands. It's going to be coated with a texturized paint, but it's very snug to the unit. There's not a lot of give when you push on that. So same thing with up front. We're going to put a stronger metal up front, which is going to protect. This is going to take the brunt of the road debris from tires and the trucks in front of you on the highway, and so that's going to protect your investment essentially. Yeah. So
one thing I like about this coach, and one thing that people should consider if they're looking at what's called stick and tin or aluminum on a wood frame construction, is the repair factor. If you damage the side of an aluminum sided coach, it is so much easier to repair than a fiberglass sided coach.
Correct.
Simply because you're removing panels that are essentially overlaid on top of each other, and you can do the repair work and then put panels back. So I know a lot of people probably don't consider that a factor when they're buying RVs, but it is something to consider because, believe it or not everyone is great at towing RVs 100% of the time, or something could happen where somebody sideswipes your coach, and having a repairable sidewall is definitely something people can get around. Let's take a look inside this unit.
Sounds good.
So this is the 29 TBS. What does TBS stand for?
Triple bunk.
Triple bunk. Slide. Interesting. That's a new term for me. So it actually says volumes when the people who are designing the coach are actually designing it for functionality around how they would want it if they lived in it, and then they actually buy the coach, right, or they get into it. I don't know what deal that they get, but it's pretty cool to see the type of floor plan that, again, employees are buying because they designed it around a purpose. Now, what are some special attributes of this specific coach?
Well, the product in general is feature-packed without having a laundry list of options. That's something that I always mention to both consumers and to my dealership retail salespeople. The Transcend product, like I mentioned, we're not really focused on calling it entry level, because often that term means, okay, well, it should be the cheapest thing out there, right? It should be something that I don't have to pay a lot of money for, that I can get into and go camping. There are trailers out there like that. There's no doubt about it. But what we tried to do at Grand Design, just like all of our other brands, we wanted to put a lot of value and a lot of feature, good content into a package where you're not having to sit down and look at a list of options and go, okay, do I need this? Do I need this? Do I need this? We already know the things that people have asked for and wanted. Not everything. I mean, we're going to continue to learn and develop our product as we go, and that's ultimately what drives our product changes, if you will. So what we did was just try to pack a well-insulated, well-built trailer, that can stand the test of time. If people want to keep this for 10 years or 5 years or 1 year, I mean, so be it. But this particular model, one of the things that was a little bit different was shrinking down the bunk room by only having a single slide and keeping this bunk room consolidated and a little bit more, roomy at the same time. We were able to get a lot of sleeping space. So you got 3 sleeping areas. Really, you could fit a couple more on this wide bottom bunk.
This looks like, what, a full-size bed almost?
It's
maybe
huge.
Larger? Yeah, this is the size, guys, of a lot of lofts that you see in mid-bunk fifth wheels. This is just a massive space, and you can probably tell on the camera, even with wide angle, it looks much larger than you might think.
And we incorporate a lot of storage into a small, compact room. So by doing this, often in a bunk room, especially a separate bunk room, you have to stretch this out or put a slide back here. So this was kind of a unique design while giving a lot of storage and a lot of feels open, even though it's not, you know, we're standing in here and it's not as deep as other bunk rooms.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like a huge bunk room, but at the same time, it feels very, very well laid out. And not only that, it feels like a really cozy room for the kids, like a place they want to escape to.
Correct.
And that's a big, big deal when it comes to your kids enjoying where they're at. And honestly, you could close the door back here and it seems like they'd have a fort. They'd be able to play with their friends. They could pick on each other. And
they wouldn't feel claustrophobic.
Not at all. It's a really cool layout, especially considering it's not on a slide.
Right.
That's so awkward because it feels like this space is so large that it is on a slide.
Right.
Very cool.
And by having the separation of the room, you know, there's going to be the rainy day that everybody has to be inside, that you can't be outside, you know, enjoying the day. So that gives a perfect opportunity. If the kids need to be back here and close the door off, let them, you know, hang out and do their thing. Mm-hmm. By just having the single slide in here, it just opens up, again, makes a nice open feel by having this on the off-door side. You know, you're getting all that usable awning space outside. Lots of countertop. This is something that we always have heard is, I need more prep space, I need more countertop space. So by utilizing storage areas underneath and up above, you get a lot of doors and drawers, and then you get a ton of prep area, even with the flush range cover there on the oven.
So this one being a 29 interior is probably, what, about 34 feet total?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, with the A-frame and everything else. So lots of sleeping space between the bunk room. You can even make the booth into a bed. This will pull out into a sleeping area, into a bed. And then you have your master suite up front. Mm-hmm. So, again, if you have a larger family, you've got some room separation by having the bunk room in the back with the door closed. And then you've got the parents up here. So, nice long hallway, good-sized bathroom, built-in storage into the master suite. So, really for, like I said, what people would consider an introductory level, this has a lot of storage and a good functional layout that feels very, very open.
One thing I've noticed is the game-changing bathroom size, the shower stall that are in Grand Design units that you just don't get in traditional travel trailers. That is a huge, huge shower area, and typically it's this little weird tub that's elevated real high off the floor. You have no room inside of it. You lose headroom. Mm-hmm. This one still gives you kind of a curved bar up top. That is a really good-sized shower, and believe it or not, if you're going to stay in your RV for any extended period of time, having that type of luxury really comes in handy and it gives you a better overall experience.
And then what I was talking about with the built-in storage, this is something we've incorporated back here into a lot of different units and floor plans, and it goes over extremely well because often, you know, if people are going to go on a longer trip, if they're maybe talking about a 6-month excursion, you know, if you're limited to just a small amount of wardrobe.
Yeah.
Now, if this is used as a weekend camper, it would be hard-pressed to completely fill this unit in every storage area. But for those that want to take it on the road or spend some time in it over the summer, you've got plenty of opportunity to do so and pack a lot of, you know, belongings, clothes, and whatnot.
So now we are standing in front of a Reflection fifth wheel. So keep in mind, they make both fifth wheels and travel trailers in the Reflection lineup. The Reflection travel trailer is going to be the highest end travel trailer product they make, whereas the Reflection fifth wheel is going to be just a step below the Solitude. Anyway, so tell me a little bit about the Reflection lineup.
Sure. So the Reflection was actually one of our earliest product lines. We started the company with a high-profile Solitude fifth wheel. And then from there, we branched out and we basically took the Solitude concept and the features and the quality, and we put it into something that was of luxury, value, and towability. So kind of what you were just talking about. We wanted to create a brand that was, you know, more friendly for either a half-ton or a three-quarter-ton pickup truck, but also doesn't cut out the quality or the good features that people look for when they go into a fifth wheel. We know we're not the cheapest thing out there, and so the unit should kind of mirror that.
Absolutely.
So
one thing I've noticed too, so the Reflection is going to be your traditional 96-inch wide, whereas the Solitude's going to be on a 101-inch wide body design. From a pricing perspective, this is going to fall more in line with like what I have, the Coachman Chaparral. This is what I would consider to be kind of its dead competitor, other than the fact that you can get a lot more features and amenities baked into a Reflection that you traditionally can't get in a Chaparral. Now, I'm not knocking my Chaparral, but I'm saying that the Reflection, in my opinion, is probably probably a slight step up from what I have. Now, that being said, we just had a pretty long conversation about something that you guys have heard in all of my videos talking about Coachmen, and that's Azdel. I absolutely am a huge fan of an Azdel composite sidewall, which is essentially the backer board behind this fiberglass that yellow jacket is currently sitting on, so I hope he doesn't attack us. But I'm a big fan of Azdel because I know what properties make it a really, really good, solid product. Now, that being said, it doesn't mean that if you have a coach without Azdel, you're getting a bad coach, since 99% of the RVs sold don't use Azdel. What it ultimately comes down to is the quality of assembly, the process of making sure that this laminated sidewall is adhered properly, doesn't have air gaps, doesn't have any types of leaks across the top, anywhere that they put in speakers, any connection points that they seal around them. The reason why you get delamination on a fiberglass with aluminum backer board is because water somehow has made its way into that area. And if that happens, it's generally because of lack of PDI. The fact that there's something that wasn't done properly. Case in point, my brother just bought a KZ travel trailer in Florida following Hurricane Michael, and Paul has no idea about that whole scenario, but you guys that have watched my channel for any amount of time know what I'm talking about. He recently just uncovered that the black tank flush valve wasn't sealed across the top, and they had a heavy downpour. Water got into that area, got into the wall, and seeped underneath his kitchen. All because they forgot to put a silicone bead or a sealant bead around that specific connection. That's what can lead to delamination. A good PDI process where they're specifically looking for gaps like that can pretty much ensure that a coach like this will never have a delamination issue. And if it does, it's because of some extreme circumstance that took place which led to it, such as some people, they forget to open up their black tank valve and they flood their entire coach, or something happens inside and moisture gets into the walls, which even on an Azdel equipped unit isn't going to have Azdel on the inside, so it's not really going to stop that from happening either. So it really comes down to the construction quality of the coach.
Right. And I was talking with you earlier about just our I guess, more hardcore abilities in the lamination plant, where we have a team that is dedicated to PDI just in lamination. We watch closely in humidity and temperature controls. We test every sidewall before it goes to production. So we know before this wall went to be put on this unit, we already know the PSI levels of the bond, of the adhesive, when it was laminated, after it cured, before it was routed. And that way we can quickly identify if something went wrong. We're not going to ship this unit out knowing that it's not up to our standards. The other thing you mentioned was about sealant. One thing I didn't talk about earlier, but every perimeter seal we have on every single unit that we manufacture has a quad seal technology. So we're using Mylar tape, we're using 2 layers of PVC foam tape, and then also a silicone cap seal. So you talked about the black tank flush with the silicone cap seal being broken down. If that's being used, in most cases that's being used as a primary preventative measure between, a barrier between the outside world and the inside of the coach. That's our layer 1 of 4. That's the most minor layer. So yes, it's still important to visually inspect the unit and seal up, or have a dealership do that while in service. But it's not the only layer behind protecting that unit from water intrusion. So.
Thank you. And that's very important to people who buy RVs, to know that they're going to last. Whether you're going to use an RV that's rated for full-time usage or not, most RVs aren't rated for absolute full-time living in usage. But most people use RVs in a way that generally exceed the design that they were rated for. And what I believe is, as long as the manufacturing process was done correctly, you shouldn't really have any problems. The warranties on most units, they're not going to be 5, 6, 7, 8 year warranties. So you have to understand that you need to pick an RV that's going to be well made, but more importantly, you're going to have to know how to do some things yourself. And that's a point I've made in a lot of my videos. You have to be a handyman if you get into the world of RVing, because the last thing you want is some freak accident to happen or some minor thing and you not know how to fix it because you were just relying on the fact that the coach was never going to have a problem, right? Anyways, let's take a look in this. This is a rear living room floor plan, which is still among the most popular floor plans. I particularly love the mid-bunk, but they do make a mid-bunk. They just don't have one out here today. We're going to look inside this 337 RLS, which stands for rear living room slide. And this is a very common rear living room type floor plan, but what I like about it is they add some touches to this budget level you typically don't see. A really, really nice trim work, really nice light fixtures. They have a really nice residential grade faucet here versus plastic that's been painted silver. It's just a nice touch. So the goal of this line isn't necessarily to say, hey, you're going to get a cheap fifth wheel or you're going to get a lower cost fifth wheel. It's to give you a lot of the amenities that you're looking for in a higher end fifth wheel, just at a lower price.
Right, or even maybe a restriction of a tow vehicle could put somebody in this versus a bigger fifth wheel like a Solitude. So, but yeah, this is a very common, having 3 slides in the unit with a rear living setup is a very, very common and popular layout. But again, like we pointed out, just little touches that make it a little bit different, set us apart. Having the extra countertops, the storage, the nice features of having the seating right across from the television. We try to put that all in where we're not really reinventing the wheel here with this layout, but again, the little subtleties that you start to get your hands on that people take to. This layout is one of our most popular selling. And in our Reflection travel trailer, we have a triple slide rear living that also is one of the best selling models there as well. And so there's a reason why. People want this, kind of open feel, lots of storage with the island, but by having the opposing slides, which we didn't have in the Transcend and the Imagine, that's where we can get the kitchen island and still have lots of room to walk around.
And this is a really nice floor plan. I like how they've done it. Nice pantry area, lots of countertop space, really high-end feeling solid surface countertops. Just a very, very good layout. Has a really good size gas-electric Dometic refrigerator. I like the hutch area. This is very reminiscent of what we have inside of ours, except our kitchen is right here, or our sink is right there. But just a really good look. So you mentioned a second ago that you have a half-ton towable fifth wheel, and people who follow my channel know that I do not believe that there is a traditional fifth wheel that's half-ton towable. Now, I know there are some really small custom shops make fiberglass units that are 15 feet long that have a tongue weight of 400 pounds that are half-ton towable, and I have no problem with that. What I'm talking about are full-size fifth wheels that are upwards of 35 feet long that have tongue weights still in the area of 1,400, 1,500 pounds, but are labeled as half-ton towable. Now, I completely understand the marketing aspect of this, that you want people who have a half-ton truck, especially one that's equipped with the tow package, to be able to have an option to tow a fifth wheel. In my opinion, the best and really only vehicles I would tow a fifth wheel with would be a 3/4 ton up truck, just from a tighter rear suspension, a heavier weight truck to combat heavy winds, the ability to stop it with larger brakes and things like that. But I did want to give you an opportunity to take that question, because it's not the easiest question to answer. How do you feel about half-ton towable fifth wheels, considering Grand Design has a line that is kind of marketed towards people who might have a half-ton truck?
Sure. So what we're referring to is the 150 series and the Reflection fifth wheels. We do target that towards a lighter weight, from a production standpoint, but also it's really what it's about is being more versatile for a short bed, for being friendly to the short bed truck. So it's a different hitch that's on there, the pin box that would work with a different hitch. So you're getting more turning radius without having to put a heavier slider hitch, a more expensive slider hitch into there. We don't ever recommend that anybody tow unsafely. Obviously, safety is most important. You want to make sure, depending on the type of camping you're doing, you have enough truck to either pull and then also stop with your unit. So with that being said, it's not that it's a blanket. Any half-ton out there can tow any of our units. It needs to be the right specs and of the right manufacturer and so on and so forth. But when it comes down to half-ton towability, there is a big market out there. There's a lot of people that are with a half-ton pickup. That's the most popular pickup sold. And so we just wanted to create a line that would be more versatile and potentially provide a customer an option where they don't want a travel trailer. They can get into a fifth wheel if equipped properly. So basically what you're saying is, and if I'm understanding you correctly, is the 150 series is just a lighter weight fifth wheel. There's a lot of people who own pickup trucks, whether it's a Chevy, Ford, or Ram, that have the max tow package, and they don't have the budget to go and buy a 3/4 ton truck because they just got their truck. And
the dealership told them you can tow anything you want with it. But
Right.
the fact is, you offer a fifth wheel that is designed, even though it might be at the higher end of what that truck's capable of doing, if the person is refusing to go out and buy a new truck or a bigger truck, it gives them an option.
It gives them an option, and depending on the floor plan, and again, depending really on the truck. But some of the things that we've done in the construction, not having a wardrobe or a bed slide helps reduce some of the pin weight. Having that turning point pin box helps, keep some of the weight out of the bed of the truck without having a slider hitch. But if somebody comes in with I know we've sold customers on that half-ton series that have a bigger truck, or they already have the slider hitch installed, and so they don't need to activate that different feature. But this is talking about shorter length, lighter weight by removing some of the things up front of the axle. So it does reduce the pin weight some. And again, like I said, I can't reiterate enough, safety is most important. So
Absolutely, and I'm glad you were very outright and honest with that. I hate putting people on the spot, but it's definitely something that I talk about in my videos, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
Yeah.
Paul, I really appreciate the time you've taken with me today.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, if you've been looking at a Grand Design product, you guys know I made a 3-part series several months ago about what I considered to be the best constructed RV in the industry, and this is before I even knew who Paul was. I met Paul today. I said Grand Design was the winner. So, guys, if you picked a Grand Design, I actually just got an email that I showed Paul. It was through my Facebook page from one of my viewers who just went out and bought a brand new Grand Design Solitude fifth wheel to tow behind a GMC Denali dually pickup truck. I'm not going to mention his name because he may not want me to, but, your product is definitely a very well-made product. A lot of people love it, and I appreciate you guys for taking so much care and passion into designing and building your products.
thank you.
Anyways, guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we will talk to you again very soon.